Ready? Yeah, cool. Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Grant Talks Funny Bits. Let me just make sure we have sound. You guys can hear me because, in true style of like we did with Boris Johnson this week, I always leave myself on mute. So, yes, if you can hear me and I'm making sense, then say something in the comments so I know that you can hear me and I'm coming across loud and clear. There we go. Oh, Charlene says hello. Hello. Long time no see. Hope you are well. So yeah, if you can hear me okay, let me know in the comment section and then we can get on with the show. We have got a very interesting guest for you tonight. There we go. Hi, Grant. Hope you're well. I can hear you. Fantastic. Thank you, Jason. There we go. Charlie. Yep, loud and clear. Natasha Stanley. Yeah, I can hear you for once. There we go. I'm always leaving myself on mute. That's the way that we do it here. So each week we bring you a different guest from a different part of the world, a different genre of stage hypnosis, always a performance hypnotist. Tonight's guest is a jobbing, gigging, working hypnotist, a bit like myself and a few other guys. They're in the trenches, day in, day out, doing this. Well, I say day in, day out. Currently, we have COVID around the world, so we will find out what he is doing. I met this gentleman, I believe, quite a few years ago in Leeds, which is a very interesting part of the world. But before we do any of that, for our American guests that are watching, happy Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys are eating lots of turkey and pumpkin and doing whatever it is you do on Thanksgiving. I do think that's something we should have in the UK. I know we have a lot of Americanisms over here, but I think a day where you can actually sit down and dedicate into being, for gratitude for the things that we're thankful for. I think that's a really good thing. So get your questions ready, your comments ready. Tonight's guest, he is a jobbing hypnotist. He started in the UK and then took it to a sunnier climate and it's in Spain. We'll find out some more information just after this clip. But yeah, if you've got any questions, then please fire away. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please make some noise for our guest this week on Grant Talks Funny Bits. Please welcome Neil Banks.
Hello, Grant.
There he is. Hello, Neil. How are you?
I'm here. I'm very well. Very well. I'm just going to answer your first question because you did say I'm in somewhere in Spain. I'm sitting with the jumper on because it's bloody freezing here today. It's been raining and windy and howling a gale.
Oh, I would not be happy about that. If you get to sunny climates, you expect it to be sunny. Whereabouts in Spain are you?
I'm actually in the Canary Islands in Fuerteventura.
Very
so
nice.
A bit further south
Very
from
nice.
Spain, down there. Yeah. Sunshine
there used to be a hypnotist. Yeah, there used to be a hypnotist that I saw years ago at the Wigan Pier in Tenerife. But yeah, I don't think there's been a hypnotist in Tenerife for quite some time now, actually.
I think there was one last year because I know there's a lad who moved across here sometime last year from Tenerife. I don't know where actually he was in Tenerife, but I know he's across here now. So there was one then.
All right.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on the technical side. Have you got your sound up at the moment? I said, are you watching this on Facebook whilst we're doing? Yeah, if you're watching it on Facebook whilst we're doing this, if you took, all right, that's all right then. No. It's just I didn't want to get any echoes or anything like that. So,
no, I'm not watching it.
Neil,
I'm not watching it. Just yeah.
First things first. What were you? Who were you before you discovered hypnosis?
Well, where do you want to start? How long have you got? I've done a bit of everything. I used to work in all sorts of different jobs and everything, and then I went on to study counselling. Was the idea? Yeah. And the first year of the counselling course was hypnotherapy. And once I studied the hypnotherapy, then I decided I didn't really want to do the counselling bit. I just want to do the hypnotherapy bit. And then that's where I started the hypnotherapy from. Done that for a while, and then I decided to take over and try and move into the comedy side of it. Give it a little bit extra. Said the hypnotherapy, still deal with the hypnotherapy doing that, but it's fancy trying the comedy side. So that's where it came from. And
so, how did you find the transition going from the counselling, the therapy into the stage work?
Well, I'll tell you a little story actually. My very, very, very first show. Now, any entertainer, it doesn't matter whether you're a rock star or whatever you all want to play at Wembley. That's your big, if you're in the UK, that's your big aim is to play Wembley Stadium. So on my first gig was I got the book through, you know, one of these papers, one of these websites and everything. Took the book and it said Wembley Stadium was the name, and the place was Moi 66. I thought that must be the dressing room I'm using at Wembley Stadium. Turns up there, walks down Wembley Way, you know, like you do with your prop bag and your suit carry over your shoulder. Walking up there, big arch in front of us, and then I looks across the left-hand side, and there it is, Moi 66, little Indian restaurant just on Wembley Way. I thought I'd made it, you know, the big lights at Wembley Stadium and everything, you know, first gig. I thought, yeah, we'll go. But it got even better. It got more entertaining. I was booked for a construction company, and I was told there's going to be 86 male construction workers there. Well, you know yourself, Grant, if you get an audience like that, you think, well, that's it. You've got to have some sort of fun with that. I went in, get all set up. Met a friend of mine down there who had also done the same training as me for the comedy side, but she didn't follow it up. She's a hypnotherapist in her own right, very good one. And she came in on the night time. We turned up and we walked around, and she says, Neil, have you noticed these are all Asian? Right? She says, can you hear anything speaking English? So I've now got 86 male construction workers who don't speak a single word of English. There's only four people in the room who spoke English, who was the management. So obviously you get up and you do your bit chat, you know, you go, how we got any volunteers, blah blah blah. You do all what you're going to do and how you're going to do, and they're all just sitting there looking at each other and having a bit chat. And I'm thinking nobody's taking any notice, nobody understood. So this very first gig, I've got all these construction workers, nothing to do. So I had to revert back to 20 years ago when I used to work like sort of like doing the comedy game shows that around the pubs in the northeast, and I just had to transform the whole night into that. So just got people up doing different things instead of hypnotism, because I'd lost nobody could understand, so I couldn't hypnotise them.
But do you think that having that background in doing the comedy game shows type thing helps you putting together a comedy stage hypnosis show?
Yeah. Well, what I've done, how I first thought about doing the comedy hypnosis show was, I was in New York a few years ago, and I was watching the entertainment, and it was terrible. I thought I could do better than that. What could I do? I thought, got the comedy background, got the hypnosis background, put the two together, and let's go to a show. Yeah. So came back, booked myself on a training course with a certain person who we both know, good friend of yours, and then put the two together, watched other people watch videos, sat and watched them, met another person who's a good friend of ours, and he gave us sort of some pointers in the right direction. And then I thought, right, yeah, just go out and do it. It's the only way you're going to learn. Yeah. So I went. So I felt the transaction wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things for stage hypnotists is to get out there and actually do it. You can do the courses, you can watch the DVDs, you can watch the shows, you can get involved, but you've got to get out there and do it. And you've got to do it consistently. Bad show after bad show after bad show, and that's how eventually you either have a nervous breakdown and stop, or you get good. So that's I think one of the things is just having the confidence, isn't it? Because out of the training course what I'd done, I think there's only two who followed it up and actually went on stage and done it. The rest of them just sort of, they wanted to do the training, but they didn't have that bit of confidence to take the therapy side onto the stage and stand there, stand in front of people, stand in front of everybody, but I think that's just the confidence in getting there. To learn the skill sets of stage hypnosis, especially if you are a hypnotherapist, I think it's a massive tool to have in your toolbox. You'll know from hypnotherapy training and being a counsellor, there's a lot of, relaxation. There's a lot of not really testing them. There's a lot of that fear of whether they're hypnotized or not. By putting a bit of razzle dazzle in, and you don't have to see your therapy clients in a sequin jacket or anything, but by putting a bit of the elements of the stage in there, it makes it more effective. And again, a lot of people go in to see hypnotherapists because of a preconceived idea of stage hypnosis as well. They kind of go, if he can make my auntie or my uncle do that, then maybe they can help me with this. So yeah.
Because the main thing is, I was going to say the main thing is, as soon as you tell somebody, you're not going to turn us into a chicken, are you? You'll find that every time you tell me what you do. You're not going to make us look into a chicken, are you? No.
It's one of my it's one of my favourite skits. The guest last week had a chicken skit, and it's such a great skit because there's that preconception of is a hypnotist is going to do the chicken thing, and not many hypnotists actually do the chicken thing anymore. No. So it is actually a great skit, which I do enjoy. So yeah, we got a couple of hellos as well. Jason Nobby Morgan says good evening. Natasha standing on and Jennings are having their own conversation. John Lawson says great to see you guys. Jeff Bennett says make a lot of hours. Yeah, absolutely. So going back to what you said about doing the audience where nobody could understand you, you're from the northeast of England.
Did you guess that, have you?
I did. I watched one of your videos earlier and I had to go, what? How does that work? Like in Spain, I mean, I'm guessing it's predominantly tourists and holidaymakers that are over there, so they're not going to have any issues with your accent. How does that work? Do you have to slow that down a little bit sometimes? Has that brought up any challenges for you?
I do have to slow it down, but I don't think that I've got a very broad Geordie accent. Not as bad as some, you know, and you tend to find when, you know, because you know yourself when you're talking, when you're putting people into the hypnotic trance and that, you do tend to talk a bit slower and a bit quieter, and that gets them, you know, then you sort of liven it up, then you drop it down, and that tends to sort of take the twang out of the accent, I think. You know, I've actually hypnotized broad Glaswegians who've understood every word I've said, and I couldn't understand what they're talking about. But by the end of it, I'm not sure it's a drink or me till they're fast asleep.
Yeah, I know Alan, who used to do my sound, bless him. He's got Scottish heritage, and the first time I've gigged in Glasgow, I could not understand a word anybody was saying. So yeah, I know I did a show years ago where the majority of the audience were retired Germans, and because I got nervous because of that, I then started speaking quicker and went back into my kind of Yorkshire / Mancunian accent, and even I couldn't understand me watching the video back. So yeah, Alana Jennings says that you have her sister's favourite accent.
All right, there we go.
And William,
a lot of people just like the Geordie accent. It's like listen to it.
I find, especially working down London, I think northern accents, regional northern accents, go down really well. We are naturally funnier because we're northern, and the northeast is a great comedy accent. So yeah, William Stoddard says I understand him, so I'm guessing William's from the northeast as well. You could have a slide line. Oh, sorry. Alana Jennings says you can have a sideline doing Robson Green impressions for fans like my sister. There you go.
I forgot that. Yeah.
So COVID, the elephant in the room. You were in the northeast, you were in the UK gigging, you packed your bag, you went to sunny Spain, you've been gigging out there for quite some time now, and then COVID hit. How was that? How did that develop? Because I know when I first heard of it, I kind of thought it's not going to happen over here, you know, we'll be okay. And then slowly but surely gigs got cancelled. And then how did it hit in Spain? How did it affect you?
It just hit. What happened was the Spanish government decided on a Saturday afternoon that everything was going to close at 12 o'clock on the Monday night. Just like that. But the Spanish police decided everything was going to close at 8 o'clock on the Saturday night, and they just closed everything. Just all of a sudden, I think it was about the 12th of March or something, 12th of March, they just closed everything, stopped immediately. And this is one of the frustrating things when you in the UK who had a lockdown. You haven't had a lockdown. We had police walking down the street, army walking down the street, stopping with your shopping bags, wherever you've been, checking your shopping, checking your receipts, making sure you'd be in the right place, going home. You couldn't go out. It was everything was closed. They just 8 o'clock on the Saturday night, they just went around and shut everything. Shops, bars, restaurants. So all the entertainment came to a stop. It's just starting now. Where are we now? November? You begin December. It's just starting now to get entertainment back. You know,
that's good though. That's good.
Things like that. So, you know, from my point of view with the show, it's quite difficult because it can be quite hands-on when you're touching people on the shoulder and you're talking to them, you're very close to them. So I'm not allowed yet at the moment to work back on the hypnotherapy. But the hypnotherapy side, yes, obviously one-to-one sessions, but in a performance rate, no, not at the minute. Still restrictions on you know.
Yeah, I did a while back. I did a COVID friendly show, and it was near on impossible to get the same atmosphere from the audience and from the volunteers. You don't realize how much we rely on just that little gentle touch or that little gentle nudge of encouragement. So yeah,
I watched the one online a couple of weeks ago, and it was the same. That there was just the show was fine, and the reaction from the participants was fine, but there was no sort of audience reaction because there wasn't an audience there, and the sort of lack of atmosphere within the room seemed very dead as to what it would normally be, because you rely on that response and that sort of feedback, don't you? And you're not getting it, so it just wasn't there. It was a good show, but just didn't have the same thing going for it.
Yeah. How, I mean, before COVID, how are shows in Fuerteventura? Is it predominantly tourists? Is the trade, or was it kind of building up again? How is it? How does it compare to the British working men's clubs / venues over here?
It's totally different, because you've got in the working men's club, if you go to a club in Yorkshire or Newcastle or what, you've got that type of audience direct, and you know what type of people you're dealing with. Over here, you have a wide mix. You can have your internationals, you can have your Germans, your Italians, and from the UK, you can have anybody from anywhere in the UK. So you've got that wide mix every week, and it's always a sort of different challenge, because you don't know until you get up on that stage. Well, obviously, if you like myself, what I tend to do is beforehand, when I'm in the pub or wherever I'm working, I'll just have a wander around and try and sort of keep myself out of the way and just work out who's who and see who's likely to be up. But you don't know who's going to be there, what nationalities, what type of people, or where they're going to be from, until you actually meet them, until you see them, and then you can just take it on from there. But it's different every week. One week you could have a pub full of Scots people, the next week you'd have English people, Irish people, you have a mixture. It's good, because it's a different challenge every time. And one of the things which I wanted to do. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we've got a couple of those. Alex Williams-Smith says, howdy, guys. Hi, Alex. And Chris Gillis says, hi, Grant. Good to see you, buddy. We will get back to gigging at some point. Famous last words. Yes, absolutely. I
think
so. Yeah, what was
the things which was?
Go on.
Sorry. Go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, one of the things, it's been like since March now, since we last done a gig. And when I was sitting watching some of the clips back before I sent some to you, I was thinking, God, I don't know if I missed that. I just wanted that buzz back of being back up on the stage and being in front of the people and getting going again. But don't know when it's going to happen really here. Yeah.
So Alex it just says you've taken over and doing a great job, he hears, from his student and mate Simon Warner, who did Fuerteventura for several years. So what was you remember your last gig before?
I've heard about them. Thanks, Alex.
Great hypnotist is Simon. Great hypnotist. He does a Vegas show as well. That's really cool. Loads of production value into it as well.
Well, if I can follow him to Vegas, then I'd be quite happy.
Yes. What was your last show like? I remember my last show. I didn't know it was going to be my last show, but if I'd have known, I'd have probably maybe cried about it. But what was your last show? What were the memories of that?
The last show, because when you're doing it like in the pubs and that round the island, the last show I'd done was it was a very quiet night in the pub. And what happened was there was a fella in there who had already done one of my previous shows, and there was only about 10 or 12 people in, and the manager's looking at me and I'm looking at them, because we just rely on sort of passive trade. We've got somebody outside trying to bring the people in. We've got posters, we've advertised the usual way, the Facebook and everything. And there was only about 10 or 12 people, so I just started talking to this fella, and I gradually put him under then somebody else at the same table. So I didn't actually have them on stage, I just had them at a table in the back of the room. And I got Peter started doing daft things that you would always do. And then the next thing is more people coming in and everybody's sitting. So I've now got what was classed as like a table show. I've got a stage up in the corner, but I've got these 3 or 4 people sitting on the table who I've got hypnotized, and everybody else is sitting at this table. So what I had to do, we then had to bring them up on the stage and just start the full show again. But that was the last one. That's why it sticks in mind, because it was quiet, because COVID was starting to kick in a little bit in the UK, and people were a bit frightened about travelling, and numbers down here were starting to drop. And that was the last show. It was more like a table show than a full set, because the numbers were restricted. But the week before that had been the complete opposite. You couldn't get moved in the bar, standing room only. We had a hilarious night. We'll get some people in, especially the ones who say you can't hypnotize me. They're the best ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the best, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I mean, the Americans watch it probably won't understand like the working men's club market or the pub market as such. But I think it's such an important part of kind of learning your trade and getting really good. When you can go into a venue and there's half a dozen people, a dozen people in the audience, and you go, right, I've now got to pull a show out my ass. I've got to make it work. Then you can do a show anywhere then as well. So, and I love intimate venues where you can literally get in amongst the people and really kind of have some right good fun with them as well. But I think that's a British thing. So we've got a Derek Kirkwood, I believe he's a friend of yours from school. Derek says, good to see you. Good to see you're doing well, Banksy lad, an old school pal.
Right, Derek. All right, mate. Now seen him for about
and Jeff says, yeah, that. Brilliant. Angela Malcolm says you're looking very cold down in sunny Fuerteventura, Neil.
Bloody freezing, tell her.
So go on, what temperature is it? What do you describe as being cold? Because here in Huddersfield at the moment, it is freezing cold and grey.
Well, it's 15 degrees today. I've had the first time
kill for 15.
Trousers on and a jumper, and I've actually had a jacket on when I went out today. On top of a jumper.
Wow.
So that's 15 degrees. It's cold. You just get acclimatized to it, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose. So the island market, where predominantly are you working? Are you marketing to hotels, to bars? Are you on a strip? What's the difference for guys watching this? Stage hypnotists that are thinking of going to an island and doing that whole like a vacation type working holiday. What tips would you give to those guys? What have you learned from coming from the British market to the island market?
I think that the island market is quite hard to break into. I was quite lucky when I got here. I had a few friends who were also in the entertainment game, different types of things as well, who knew the people around. So they introduced us to people who I needed to know. It's mainly book, around here. Just before this COVID kicked in, I had just got in touch with and been talking to an agency who's based in Lanzarote, but provides work for hotels in Fuerteventura. So I just sort of got the breakthrough, got my foot in the door with him, obviously looking to get to hotel work, and then obviously this all kicked in. So I have been back in touch with them, but it's bar work, you've got to be prepared to work in front of that crowd. And like you said before, some weeks you've got 10 people in, the next week you've got 150 people in. You don't have a fixed audience, working men's clubs, you can go in there, on a Friday, Saturday night, you're going to have 150, 200 people in there because it's where they go. It doesn't matter what the entertainment is, the people still go. But here, and especially
they've been sitting in those seats for 60 years.
Yeah. And what you find here is, or I find this island, it's very karaoke based. All the bars just want karaoke singers, just want karaoke on. So it's giving them that something else, and it's getting in at first, getting them in to prove you can do something different, and then getting them to believe and seeing from what you do that you can bring an audience in, because all the bars want to do. And over here, you don't get a set fee. You get a fee, and the busier the bar is, the more you get. The quieter the bar is, the less you get. So you don't work for. Some of them. When I first came here, I said I want a set fee, and I got that set fee. You got more if it was busier. You got more, which was good, but I never got less. But as time gets on, that's the way they tend to work on these things. So you couldn't come across here and say you wanted, I just pluck it out. You couldn't go across here and say you want £100 a show. You would get what the boss prepared to take you. And when you're on like 5,000 show like yourself, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I suppose though that gives you a chance to kind of dig in, promote, push, and it helps you promote your show in that particular bar as well. So it's I understand that, if you know what I mean. So that makes sense. So in the question of what would you say to give tips for someone thinking of going to an island, Alex Smith says don't do it. One hypnotist and islands is enough. Now things have gone largely all inclusive. I think that's right as well. Especially like Tenerife, Lanzarote. One guy working the island is enough. I know when I went to Tenerife, and there was somebody working there, I didn't approach anyone to work there because it's kind of like I'm a big believer in we should create work, not steal work, if you know what I mean. Well, so
on a funny story, or a true story attached to that, when I actually came here, there was actually another hypnotist in the same town as me who I had never met before, I came across for a week's holiday before I moved out here. I met him. We became good friends. He did one bar at one end of the street. I did one at another end of the street. He would do one part of the town. I'd do one different. We made sure that we didn't clash within the same area on the same night.
Yeah.
There was times, people used to say, "Oh, this competition, this two-way competition." We weren't competition, we're friends. We actually done a show together one night in one of the bars just because I wasn't working, he was. He says, "Come down, we'll do something together." So there was two in it. It was a very small town I was in, but the two will work together. Unfortunately, for personal reasons, he left the island, so I got left with all the work.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's an important point. Is that I know in one of the stage hypnosis groups on the forums these past couple of weeks, there's been a new hypnotist come forward, and has been saying stuff, and it's not. I think it's such a small community. That you have got to network, you have got to build relationships with other hypnotists, because you'll need them to help cover work at some point in the future. And it is a small community, and there is people that are loggerheads, and especially when it comes to the training side of things. But when it's on a performance level, I think building relationships is the most important thing you can do.
One of the things where I hear on very lucky when I first started, because I told you about my first show, what I done. Second show was an army show, 200 squaddies. That was a good laugh, but things weren't quite going as well as I wanted. And having the hypnotherapy business, there was a person who had another business in the same office block, it was like a common user office block, but he was a very good stage hypnotist, and still is, I better say in case he's listening. And what happened was, he actually went and approached him. I met him one day in there, and I went and approached him and asked him for some advice. And he asked when my next show was. I went and seen him on a Friday afternoon. He says, "When's your next show?" And I says, "Tomorrow." It was in a local pub. He says, "Right, I'm coming along." And he turned up to watch the show. And then afterwards, we became good friends. He became a mentor of mine. I still keep in touch with him these days. You might know he's got red hair, bright red hair.
Yes.
Alex, Rob.
Brilliant. Yes,
Mr.
Great performer.
And Rob. And like I say, we'll keep in touch. He came to all my shows in the early days. He came along every show I'd done, and afterwards we'd go back to a couple of days later or a week later, we'd sit down, we'd go through everything, and that was that. He sort of pushed me from where I was starting, got me further up the ladder a lot quicker than I would have done by having all Rob's support with us, and he was really good. Still is. He's still there if I need any problems, I just pick up the phone, give him a ring, or send him a message.
Yeah, Jeff's just put, we build each other up. And that's so important, because it's the most important thing for our industry is we all do better, because then people see better shows. Alex says, my student, yes, Rob was a student of Alex's. Everyone has one of Alex's products. It's like some people are proud to go, "I've got Alex's products." So in fact, you know what? No, I was going to go get it. I've got the transparency template on my shelves just over there. Do you know what I mean? But then other people get the products. Other people get the products and hide them under their pillow or under the bed as if it's like pornography or something, and like they don't mention it. But I
did actually. I tell a little story about Rob. Rob done a big show in Newcastle in the Time Theatre, and the week later I was doing one of the local working men's clubs in Newcastle. And what he'd done was, he'll kill us if he's listening, but when he'd done his bit at the end of the show, when he had one girl standing, and he said, "Sleep," she fell down. She fell on the ground, which wasn't supposed to happen. So the same girl got in touch with me a couple of days later and said, "Have you any tickets for your show next week?" Which I did. So she came along. So what I said when she arrived, because I'd got to know who she was, so I'll give her a walking stick. And I says, "Are you going to volunteer?" She says, "Oh yeah, I'll volunteer." So I says, "When you get up," I says, "use that walking stick and come up to the front." Because I knew Rob was going to be in the audience. So she comes up from the back, hobbling along this walking stick. She sits down, says, "Excuse me, but are you going to be okay to take part in the show? Because it's quite an active show, I said, "I noticed you're hobbling badly there." She says, "Can I ask why you're walking there?" She says, "Yeah, I was at a hypnotist show last week and he dropped us on the floor. That's why I've hurt me back." Well, Rob's face just went the same way as his hair. It was only a joke. She was fine. Actually, somebody else in the audience another friend of mine was sort of videoing parts of it, and this other fella said, "I'm going to get her done. She's on benefit floor. She's walking with that walking stick and look at her dancing around there now." But you've got to have these laughs with Monday. Yeah.
Exactly. I always ask people what was their it's like funny bits. What's the worst show? You know, we all have them. That show where you learn so much from it, and you get in your car after the gig and you go, right, that's it. I'm never doing this again. But you learn a lot from that type of show. What's the worst show? What was your education show?
My education show was actually an army show. It was a Saturday afternoon, 200 TA squaddies, and they just wanted to be so rowdy. The audience was rowdy, trying to keep the audience under control, apart from actually do the gig what you had with the people. Beforehand, the captain, or who I was in charge, had came into the dressing room. He said, I'm about to retire in a month's time. If I lose my pension because you've got people running around this room naked and all this, and they just were so up for it, but they were so loud, and trying to keep them under, trying to keep the audience. There were, people were getting up and running up on the stage during the show and things like that. And I thought, is it worth it? Is it worth? But I say, go in and learn from it. Like, right, how am I going to control the audience a bit better? The show went fine, but it's just the audience were just so loud and so they were wanting to join in when you've got people in there trying to come up and like grab their mate by the shoulder and shake and say, "Wake up, Jimmy, wake up!" And that was an experience and a half, that one. Because
I did.
Good.
Yeah, I did a squaddy, a summer ball in Germany years ago, and literally on every table there was just bottles of spirits. And just before I was about to go on stage, the booker's gone, yeah, normally they like to give the comedy act 15 minutes before they make them walk off stage. And it was like, that was a tough gig.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is your standout gig? And, like you said earlier about the whole Wembley situation, we all have that show that is, when I visualize a show, there's a certain show that I always kind of keep in mind that I just think that was, you come off stage thinking like you're Bon Jovi or Michael Bublé, whatever. You come off feeling like $1 million. What was the standout show and why?
I've got a couple really. One was in quite the early days, and I think I sent you one of the clips, and it just seemed that night, it was the first time I actually had somebody working with us doing the sound, and it just seemed everything just flowed, just went right. And the volunteers, when I asked for volunteers before, I knew they had like 15 people on the stage. And I'm thinking, all right, okay, let's see. We ended up with about 6 of them, but they were really good. They just did everything I wanted them to do. And it was like up on a proper stage, had all the lights in it. It was the first one which I'd had in front of all the lights, and big working men's club full of people, 250 people in there, and the audience were brilliant. The volunteers were really good. They would do anything. There was one lad there who his girlfriend was up, and he kept me standing at the front all night with a video camera. So I took the mic out of him. And one of the things which happened in that, which was you couldn't have comedy timed it better. But I was doing the old routine.
Rob says hello, by the way.
Who?
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Rob.
Yeah. Hope you didn't hear that before. Rob was actually in the show. There's one of the women who she'd just gone so far, she'd just lay on the floor. So I just thought, well, just leave a line on the floor. It's part of, put that in the comedy bit of it. And I was doing the usual routine, forget the number. And I had the girl up, and she went, it was number 7 was the number she forgot. She went 6, and this woman who was lying on the floor said one word all night. And she went 6, and the girl went, and she just goes, 7, and put her head back down. And you just couldn't have timed any better if you had wanted, One of the other ones was one across here, one Fuerteventura. Probably, I think just before Christmas. But again, it was just the mix of the people, and they were so good. And the bar where I was working in, there was a lad there who was a drummer, and he had this very expensive drum kit, and he used to always leave it on the stage. And I used to set some chairs at the front of the stage, but I had to put some on the stage because I had so many volunteers, and we're doing the horse race. And somebody's getting further and further back, and the manager is trying to push this chair forward, hold the drum kit in place. I'm trying to stop that. I'll just let them carry on, because. But it was just that one because everybody was just so good at it. And actually, in that show that night, I actually hypnotized a Spanish person, and I don't speak Spanish. And that was always been. I don't know why he was just drunk and fell asleep, but he stayed there for the full show, But
brilliant.
That was a 2. That one.
Speaking of that clip, I believe we've got one of those clips. It's only a short clip, but it is a great one, and it is on the stage. It's one of the good things about working men's clubs, especially as well, is you do get the good stages, you do get the good audiences. So I'm going to play this clip now, and we'll come back after this. Brilliant. So I mean, that's a great example of that sounded like a really loud, busy environment as well. So a lot of people think you've kind of got to have that silence and everything quiet and focus, but that sounded like a busy environment.
They were a good audience because there was silence and focus when I wanted them to be. And once I got everybody going, they just joined in and just went totally mad. That was that Stan doing his washing machine. That fella just doing the washing machine there. Oh, that's one of my favourite clips. That he just totally went with it, you know. And that was the night where you can just see the woman lying on the floor in the corner. That's it. It just put her head up, went 7, went back to sleep. You know.
Brilliant. So David Gould has just said, seeing a couple of Neil's show whilst on holiday would really recommend that you go see him. So I mean, where can people come and see you, Neil?
Well, at the moment, nowhere.
Oh. So the plan in the holidays next year. Do you know what I mean? Well, what's your web? Is there a website? Where can they find you? Where can they come and get you?
What they do is just follow us on Facebook. Just follow us on Facebook, and they'll find there. Because at the minute, I don't know where the shows are going to be. I don't know what's happening. I'm trying to get into this agency at the moment. So hopefully, it's going to be hotel-based shows, which will be obviously for clients of hotels. But there's also so many pubs and clubs around at the minute. And, you know, they're all struggling. Once they get back up, I'll start launching all the details I have on Facebook and just put everything on there.
Yeah.
I'm planning in the next sort of few weeks, because I did let things lapse with COVID and everything, because I didn't see the point in having everything keep on going. So I'm going to put a new Hypnotist Facebook page together, and then I'll be starting to put all the details on there. You know, I've got a couple of people.
I must admit, I do think going forward, kind of 2021, 2022, I think they're going to be really, really busy years, because, you know, all those people that love to travel that have been kind of penned in this year, you know, are planning their holidays next year. So I do think, you know, it will see a surge in that kind of Spanish holiday maker, people taking shorter breaks as well. So it should do really well. So what else have you got planned? What's on the horizon? Are you doing therapy as well whilst you're over there?
I do therapy while I'm across here, but at the moment where we are, you know, because obviously you've got the British lockdown at the minute, so we've got very few British holiday makers across here. We've got very few tours. The town is very dead. People have been off work for 6-7 months. So I do advertise the therapy side. If anybody wants any therapy work, I do get a little bit, not a great deal, because at the minute nobody's got any money. You know, they can't afford to pay for anything. And you know, once things start to pick up the holiday side, I'm going to start and sort of hit the hotels myself, hit all the bars and everything, and try and get as much work as I can in that way. You know, because it's a different audience every night in all the bars, isn't it? You know, a different bar. You get people come watch 2 or 3 times. Like Dale's been a few days to see the show. But it's just a case of getting back out there and because the places where I used to do regular before, I know one of them's closed down now because the landlord wanted rent and they couldn't afford to pay rent for the last 7 months. Yeah. And that's a struggle with these pubs. It's going to be getting them going. You know, once they get up and running, because at the minute they just sort of want karaoke on because it's cheap entertainment, isn't it? They don't want to be forking money.
But I mean, hopefully, you know, they'll push through that, and it's, you know, someone putting on something different and unique, such as your show, will pull people away from everywhere else that's putting on the karaoke thing. So it's very short-sighted of them, but hopefully, you know, some good marketing, which you've got, a good show, which you've got, you know, persistence, which you've got, things will do well.
You know, I think
Pam says hello. Great show.
All right. Yes.
So Pam was just saying hello.
Yeah. I think it's getting, you know, because I was just starting to get built up and get people to know who I was, and getting the good shows going and getting a good reputation going, and people are starting to come and see the show. It's getting approached from other places wanting to put shows on, and then all of a sudden this hit. So it's going to be like starting again, really.
Yes.
You know, it's going to be, some of the books will still be the same, so you'll have the same management there who'll know you, who'll still remember what you've done, but it's going to be like a whole new ball game, starting everything from scratch again.
Exactly, which is it is going to be hard work. We are going to, you know, all entertainers throughout the world are going to have to dig deep and really kind of, you know, really push it out there again. All the airs and graces of I'm this and I'm that mean nothing. You kind of got to prove your mettle again now, which is a good thing, you know. And if you've got the energy for it, then it'll be fantastic.
I think one of the things what we've lost on the side, we've lost a lot of entertainers because they've gone back to the UK because they couldn't financially survive it. You know, they're not getting any money in, so they've had to sort of pack up and sort of go out of the way. Whether they come back or that's a different matter.
It's the mentality of a self-employed performer, a gigging hypnotist or violinist or singer, songwriter, whatever it is that you do. You know, we live gig to gig predominantly. And I know there's a lot of guys that have kind of stopped doing that and had to get, you know, what's effectively normal jobs. And the structure of that normal job is what's going to stop good entertainers from coming back to entertainment, unfortunately. And entertainment's in your blood. But, you know, I know of guys, I know singers now that, you know, that they've got that regular income, regular hours, and they've got their weekends back. You know, so I think we're going to lose some great entertainers from the circuit because of COVID.
Which is a case of, you know, I've just to help me survive, I've had to get a regular job as well, you know, just to survive out here. It worked in quite well with me entertainment, you know, but just to keep us going, just to take over, you know, because you've got to, at this stage of time, you've just got to do anything you can to survive.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I'll wash your car for $5 at the moment.
Well, can you come across tomorrow and do it?
That's it. Yeah, that'll be done. Wash and the wax, £5.50.
Good job.
Jeff says it's time to reinvent yourself now, and it is absolutely right. Marketing wise, now is the time to kind of start those wheels in motion because no one else is marketing. So if you start to trickle that out now, then you make a bigger name for yourself. So yeah, brilliant.
Well, I've been doing that on the local sites around, you know, on the local Facebook page and that around the towns around here. I've been putting out the fact, you know, come to Hypnotist, try something different, have an alternative night's entertainment. You don't want your singers, you don't want your bands, try something different, you know. Probably it's like the restriction like you said, but you've got to do the sort of COVID friendly, you know, type of show. It's a bit more difficult than doing a normal show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always ask guests if there was 2 books, whether it be a business book or a stage hypnosis book that has influenced you or you would recommend to people watching this, what would those be?
Can I be honest with you, Grant? I don't read books.
Colouring books are fine.
What was the Orville McGill's book? What was it? The stage hypnosis?
New Encyclopedia of Stage Hypnosis.
Yeah, I got that one when I first started. I will get finished it one day.
That's a big book to get through, though, to be fair.
It is. You know, I've read the books when I've been doing the training courses for the hypnotherapy and things like that, but I read them and take it where I need to, and then I just sort of put the book to one side. Really, I'm not a great studier of books. Sorry.
No, it's right. Weirdly, I think Ormond McGill's book, it's one of those that you have to have. You read it in the beginning and there's so much knowledge, and then you come back to it 10, 15, 20 years later and you read it and you kind of go, that don't work, that don't work, that don't work. But it's a good reference point.
Oh yeah. So yeah. And I'll just say something else. All the other information I have a lot of stuff online, and most of it is Alex stuff from Alex William Smith. Most of it's his stuff, you know. I've got his boot camp and everything, so I get all his stuff, which I did at first when I was having the first few shows which weren't going well. I was obviously speaking to Rob, getting our advice from Rob, and I was watching a lot of stuff what Alex done and watching stuff what yourself done. We just pick up from each other, we help each other, don't we? Yeah,
exactly. Now, if you were going to give a tip to a hypnotherapist who's currently thinking, do you know what? I want to be a stage hypnotist. I want to learn this stuff. Or a tip you would give to yourself when you were younger and you were going to do this, what would that tip be? What's the one bit of information that where the penny dropped and you went, right now, what's that tip?
Don't be afraid. Get out there and do it. Try it. Learn as much as you can. Watch people. Pick up tips from other people. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, we're all taught to each other. If anybody's, it might seem a daft question to me, but it might not to you. You know, ask questions, speak to people, but get up on that stage. Have the confidence just to go and do it. Just get up there and do it. You know, try it. Yeah. You're only going to learn by your mistakes. If you make mistakes, you learn from them, and you do something different next time. But don't be afraid to speak to other people. You know, email. We've all got emails. We've all got email addresses. We've got Facebook. We've got all sorts of social media. We can contact each other if we want any advice. Don't be afraid to ask. Get up there and do it. Yeah.
Brilliant. And where do you see the future of stage hypnosis or performance hypnosis with the likes of YouTube, TikTok, the street stuff? Do you see that helping what we do, or do you see it being a hindrance in the future?
I can see it helping because it's making people more aware of it. You know, I think hypnosis, stage hypnosis, is a sort of in a small way, it's a mini market, but still it can be broadened a lot. And the more people that get to see things from wherever, from TikTok, from Twitter, from street hypnosis, more people become aware of it, and more people will then be looking out for shows and looking out and seeing where there's things going on, what's happening, if there's any shows happening, where or when or whatever. Yeah. So it's going to broaden the horizons for people. It's going to create a better interest, and the more people we get interested.
I must admit. Yeah, I was kind of anti-TikTok for stage hypnosis because I kind of thought it breaks it down into 15 seconds. It won't do well. But a couple of people have mentioned this and kind of gone, it opens the door to a generation that don't know what hypnosis is, and it teaches them. And Alex being Alex, has given us a great tip as well. He says the key is get off your arse and take action. Be tremendous, be proud. Knowledge without action is worthless, which is great value. You know, you've got to get out there and do it. There's so many armchair hypnotists that have technical knowledge but don't have the minerals to get out on stage and bash out a show.
I think we shouldn't be frightened to go, you know, like go and try it. And there's plenty of training courses out there. People want to go, you know, and just have a look and see how it works, and they might not think it's for themselves, but go and give it a go. Go on one of the courses, have a look, see what you think. Meet people, you know, who do these courses, like yourself and Chris and all them and Rob and Alex. They're all great people to train you. Just go and
do you know,
go and do the
courses. The courses work on two levels. One, there's the knowledge. Two, there's the connection you get with the trainer. But then there's the networking and the connection you get with other people that are on that course as well. You kind of get that bonding, that kind of camaraderie between those people, and that really helps. It helps raise your game.
Yeah, there's some people when I done one of my courses that they weren't even hypnotists, you know, they weren't even hypnotherapists, but they just came to see what it was all about. And by the time they left that course 2 days later, they were amazed at what they could do.
Yes.
You know, and like you say, we'll keep in touch with most of the people met on them courses still today. You know. Yeah, it's
you create a bond, a friendship that kind of, you know, helps when you have a bad show. You can ring somebody up and bounce them off. Anyway, Neil, thank you very much for being our guest tonight.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Dad.
Yeah, guys, if you want to follow Neil, find him on his social media on Facebook. Neil, is it Neil Banks Hypnotist?
Just Neil Banks. Just putting it, just Neil Banks.
Just Neil Banks.
Or I've also got I've got the YouTube channel as well, Neil Banks Comedy Hypnotist. You can see some of my clips on there.
On YouTube, I will go over and give you a subscribe right now.
Right.
Make sure you go over and subscribe to him as well. So yeah, there we go. Oh, John Lawson, thanks guys, enjoyed that. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and hypnotherapy tutor. I love what you guys do. Thank you very much, John. It's each week we try and bring out some value that a different expert within the field to help everybody out, and it keeps us busy whilst we're not on stage. So guys, thank you very much. Take care, and Neil, enjoy. I shall come over to Fuerteventura and see you just for the warm weather.
I thought you could wash the car.
I'll bring you some proper tea bags as well. I'll bring you some Yorkshire tea.
All right then. Okay, thanks very much, Grant.
All right, nice one.
Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.